Hello YouTube, Pokemon Legend Master here with a new video, and underused against the guy I've already faced a couple times, SaoWhit, and he leads off with his Scarfed Frostlass. I'm familiar with it because of a couple other matches we had. It's outsped enough that I was 99.9% certain it was a Scarf, and plus I knew I could one-hit KO because it wasn't sashed. Anyway, he goes for the Thunder Wave on the first turn on Raikou. Nothing on my team wants to take the Paralysis, so Raikou takes it and uses the Shadow Ball just to finish off Frostlass. So I have the Paralysis Pokemon out of the way. I don't have to worry about it anymore, which is stellar. Anyway, that will cripple Raikou incredibly. And so I'm going to switch out here. Whatever comes in, I'm going to be slower than after the Paralysis. I am a modest Expert Belt set, not a Choice Spec set. So he hits with his Body Slam. It does a ton of damage, leaving me with pitiful amounts of HP, and I Volt Switch out, which thankfully was after the Body Slam, so only Raikou takes the damage. Anyway, I go into Primeape knowing nothing on his team wants to take a close combat. And if he stays in with his Snorlax, it will die because it is a banded close combat. So I lead with the close combat this turn, and it absolutely destroys Snorlax. But let me tell you, I love this banded Primeape. In underused, it's a real problem to face. It's fast, and it hits incredibly hard. So Primeape cleans out Snorlax, one hit. That just kind of shows the raw power that a choice-banded Primeape has. It also has Vital Spirit, so you can't put it to sleep, which is a real plus. Anyway, he goes into Bronzong, and I know at this point I have a problem, a very big problem. I have no fire moves, and 95% of the Bronzongs have Levitate instead of Heat Proof. So I go ahead and bring in my Iron Wall, kind of hoping it doesn't have Toxic, because if it doesn't, I can maybe stall him out. Anyway, he goes for the Gyro Ball here after I set up my rocks, and it does okay-ish damage, less than a quarter, and after leftovers, less than about an eighth HP damage. So I Rapid Spin away the rocks, and of course his health's going to go all the way back up, but I have no rocks on the side. And then he goes with the Toxic, and of course he carries Toxic because my life has to be miserable all the time. So I take some damage from the Toxic after my leftover recovery, which is truly unfortunate. It completely takes away the power of Claydol, especially since Rest had such a nerf in the 5th generation, so it's very hard to run Rest now. Anyway, I decide my best bet is going Napoleon. Hope he does not have Levitate, because I resist his Gyro Ball. I'm not sure if he's got Earthquake or not. If he does, this is going to be very problematic. So I just Sword Stance here, hoping that all his mono attacker with Gyro Ball, and of course he's not. He's got the Earthquake as well. But he actually sets up his rocks on this turn, which will give me an attempt to hit it with the Earthquake, and it's got Levitate, which is unfortunate because now he's going to hit me with his own Earthquake, and that will be very difficult on Empoleon. It does almost half damage, so then I go ahead, use an Aqua Jet the next turn. It does some decent damage. He goes for another Earthquake here, and that is going to put me in a very difficult position with Empoleon, but it does put me in Torrent range. I think maybe I should have just gone for the Aqua Jet, then I could close combat it and taken it out, but I didn't think of that at the time, and so I just switch out and go back into Claydol, which was a very stupid move now that I look at it. Amateur mistake. Anyway, he goes ahead and tries to set up rocks, but because the rocks are already up, it doesn't do anything. So I don't know I think that was probably a misclick. And so we get our leftover recovery, and I take toxic damage, of course. So he goes ahead. The next turn, I go for the Ice Beam, just kind of hoping for a freeze hacks, because this would make my life a lot easier if it was a frozen Bronzong instead of an alive and gyro balling, toxicing Bronzong. Anyway, he hits me with the gyro ball. It does some decent damage again, and it's getting very difficult for Claydol because of the toxic damage. So my gamble to take it out with a Frost isn't paying off, so I just decide to Rapid Spin, go into Primeape, and hit it with a close combat, just kind of hope for a crit. At this point, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do to try to take this guy down. I've got moves that can hurt it, but after the defense drop, I'm not sure if they're going to enjoy taking that. So I've been really not wanting to use Primeape or Heracross because I'm fearing the Toxic on Heracross, and I'm fearing the defense drop on Primeape. So either way, it's very difficult. So I go ahead and switch out here and go into Primeape because I really don't have any other alternative. I could go for the U-turn here, but I already know that's not going to do enough damage, and he's just going to keep on adding damage with the Stealth Rock, so I might as well stay in, hope for the best. That's about all I can do at this point. So I go ahead and I use the Close Combat, and that knocks off just about half his HP. A little over, almost exact after the leftover recovery. And of course, I get the defense drop. But that just shows you the raw power of Primeape. The banded Primeape. Bronzong is neutral damage to close combat, and yet it took that much damage. And it is a fully invested HP and physically defensive Bronzong, I do believe. So I go into Heracross now. And I know I'm risking the poison, but I am running out of options. My sweepers are pretty much completely exhausted. And in Empoleon, I could maybe use it to do some sweeping later with the priority Aqua Jet, maybe clean things up if Heracross dies. And so I'm kind of hoping for that. He goes for the Toxic here, which puts Heracross in a very difficult position, which is very unfortunate. So I'm going to have to switch quite a bit, which means I'm still going to rack up the Stealth Rock damage, and I'm going to lose Pokemon left and right because I'm going to have to sacrifice just to let Heracross get a safe switch, and so he doesn't get the additional turn of toxic damage. So I go for another close combat just to finish off Bronzong, and that does give me a little bit of breathing room, but the toxic damage is really starting to worry me, and I haven't even taken that much yet because he's still got most of his team intact. His defensive core is thankfully gone in that Bronzong, but at this point I'm not really sure if I can beat him or not. Then he goes into Mew, and I know this thing is very threatening. It's got Flamethrower, so I go ahead and switch out right away and go into Claydol just to sacrifice it so I can get a safe switch in. And I believe I'm going to go into Empoleon just to get the Aqua Jet off, do as much damage as I can, and give Heracross a little bit more of a chance to kill off Mew. So I lose Claydol, unfortunately, and Mew is almost at full health again. So at this point I'm very worried that I may not be able to pull this off. But I go into Empoleon and I think, okay, if I do this just perfectly, I may be able to pull off a win. So I go for the Aqua Jet. It's torrent boosted, so it's going to do some damage. And it does just a little past the 4th HP damage. He goes for the Flamethrower, and I lose Empoleon. So I've just lost 2 Pokemon, 2 Meowth. That's not what this is. Meowth's a normal type. Anyway, I go back into Heracross, into this Mew, and if I connect with the Mega Horn, I have a chance of keeping up this kind of rhythm of switching Heracross in and out, and knocking 1 or 2 things out at a time. So I use the Mega Horn. It is enough to finish off Mew, because it's Mega Horn on a Heracross, and Heracross has a monstrous attack anyway. So the Moxie goes into play, attack goes up, but I know I'm probably not going to be able to keep the boost because he's got that Crobat, and lo and behold, Crobat comes out. It's going to force me to switch because this is the only chance I have of actually beating him is with Heracross. So I switch out, and I'm going to have to sacrifice another Pokemon, and I decide Raikou is paralyzed. If he decides he's going to try to taunt me or something and waste a turn or two, I could maybe get the Volt Switch off and KO it, which would have been awesome. He goes for the Super Fang here, and it does half my HP damage, of course. And I try to attack, and he actually returns that very turn. And he goes into Galvantula. That's right, he still has his Galvantula, which is a really big problem. So I just go for the extra sensory here, because I didn't want to Volt Switch out, that's right, and I knew the Psychic would do a lot of damage. So I nearly one-shot the Galvantula, which is nice. And Raikou goes down after the Bug Buzz, but that does mean Galvantula's in a much easier to kill place. So I go into Dusclops, which I haven't used yet because I am an idiot, I guess. I probably should have burned the Bronzong a long time ago, but I wasn't thinking about that for some reason. I don't know. Rookie mistake. I don't plan on making it again, so I go for the Seismic Toss here because I wasn't sure if Shadow Sneak would finish it off, and I'm able to take down Galvantula even though it almost drops me down to about the 40% HP point. So he goes into Crobat, and I know I can quite possibly take a hit from it, and he actually goes for the Substitute, and I just go for the Seismic Toss here. So it's going to break his sub. I would have loved to Pain Split that thing, but it's faster, and I wasn't sure if it had Substitute or not. So I just go for the Seismic Toss, and it did sub, so I get the break. And I'm not sure if he's going to go for another sub. It's been a while since I've watched this. He actually charges up for a Sky Attack here, and that is a bit of a problem if it wasn't for the fact that I do have priority as well as a Seismic Toss. So a Seismic Toss again, if I remember, it drops him down to nearly dead, and then I'm going to be able to Shadow Sneak it and kill it off nice and clean. So that's exactly what I do, and I was surprised that I had enough offensive capability with Dusclops to actually kill off Crobat before it did me. So that actually ends the game, and that was an amazing match.